Hello, my name is Fodelianakis Antonios, and I'm an educator. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of the Basque Country. Ainara Rodonegui Romero and Javier Labebas again, and we are conducting a research in Greece on the perceptions and the attitudes of teachers on the inclusion of students with high functional ASD in the Greek formal education, and I would like to present you our work till now. Neurodevelopmental disorders and autism in particular have always been a field of study of particular interest to many sciences and scientists. Constantly emerging theories, such as Reuters, that a month without the introduction of a new theory on autism is considered a boring month, show that the constant interest of scientists. The most important milestones can be considered the Warnock Report of 1978, which questioned the value of the parallel dual education system, separate schools for typically developing children and children with disabilities. But what really marks a reversal is the shift from the medical disability model to a social model. Indeed, the result of the awareness that emerged from the Salamanca Declaration led to the removal of the labeling and the cessation of the theory of disability as an inherently insurmountable deficit. Several years after the Warnock Report, and while the efforts of scientists in the field of special education have been continuous and arduous, in 1994, UNESCO issued the famous Salamanca Declaration, which brought to the surface and imposed on the education what have been whispered for years by scientists and special education teachers. That is, the fundamental right of marginalized children, and of course for children with neurotypical disorders, to be a part of an education system that meets their need without being marginalized and discriminated against, as in the previous medical model of disability, that show in children with a problem an insurmountable deficit. This new policy has given impetus to the creation of a variety of definitions, often found in the literature with overlapping or even conflicting concepts that create confusion in the scientific community, like the terms mainstreaming or incorporation in Greek and somatosi, or the term integration in Greek ένταξη, or again the term inclusion in Greek συμπερίληψη, and co-education, that would be συνεκπαίδευση. The multitude of definitions and the difficulty of many years to distinguish the terms, of course, are not the reason of the failure of the tactics of incorporation, integration, or inclusion, but the reason lies mainly in the inability of the interest parties, that is, parents and teachers, of course, the school system, to adapt the curriculum to the needs of children with disabilities. That will be necessary to adapt the curriculum to meet the needs of children with neurodevelopmental disorders. Indeed, this research analyzed a series of studies on teachers' attitudes and opinions. Various studies in different countries have revealed different attitudes towards inclusion. Among other things, the factors that influence the success of inclusion are sought. In short, researchers, both in Greece and in the rest of the world, point out that most teachers agree with the need to improve their training in school inclusion techniques. However, teachers' opinions are observed to differ on the factors that influence their attitude. Important limitations for drawing firm conclusions about the attitude of Greek teachers are that most of the research in Greece focuses on primary school teachers and a small number on secondary school teachers, and rather concerns attitudes that are mainly related to learning disabilities or intellectual disabilities, or for severe ASD, and almost none for teachers and their attitudes about autism. That would be high functional autism, the well-known Asperger. The aim of this research is to find out if the attitudes of the primary and the secondary school teachers for the inclusion of students with high functional autism in the Greek General School are positive or negative or neutral. In recent years, there has been an unexpectedly growing diagnosis of children with ASD, both in the United States but in the rest of the world too. Several studies confirm the magnitude of the increase in diagnosis, so you can understand why it's so important to investigate all aspects related to children with autism, including the role of teachers, of course, their beliefs and attitudes, and as a key factor in improving the daily life of children with neurodevelopmental disorders. About the hypothesis is that teachers have a positive attitude towards the inclusion of students with functional autism in the secondary educational system. About the data collection and the tool, the data collection method used in this present study is the questionnaire, which includes a structured 7-point Likert type questions. The sample of this research is made up of 1,070 primary and secondary school teachers coming from various schools in Greece. Of 1,070 teachers, 88.1%, that is about 943 women, and 11.9%, that's about 137 were men. 48.8% served in primary education, while 51.2% in secondary education. The descriptive results of the responses provided by teachers in relation to their inclusive tactics and attitudes, so that in the first three factors analyzed, teachers modestly agree that inclusion is an effective model for students with autism. They consider differentiated teaching necessary and believe in the effectiveness of inclusion regardless of the academic or social skills of the students. Regarding functions and roles, the teachers emphasize that the cooperation of special and general education teachers is a prerequisite for achieving a successful inclusion. Finally, they point out that they need more education to adequately teach students with functional autism, noting that they receive moderate support from the administration. With this research, we have focused on the main factors of the inclusion process, that is, teachers of primary and secondary schools in Greece, in a country that has suffered the consequences of a decade economic crisis, which has been burdened by the forecasts and the shortcomings of the pandemic too. Indeed, the purpose of this study was to investigate the attitudes of teachers toward the inclusion of students with high functional autism in Greece. The results of the teachers' answers largely confirmed the hypothesis originally proposed. Although research in Greece in recent years on inclusion and on special education is quite frequent, insufficient attention has been paid to teachers' perceptions and attitudes regarding the inclusion of students with autism and high functional autism, that is Asperger's. And there is the transition from one school level to the other, from the primary to the secondary education system. In fact, in this context, to complete the picture of this work, quantitative research is prepared that studies gender, age, previous experience and training in special education as factors. In addition, a qualitative research with a mixed focus group with teachers from primary and secondary schools has been organized and being developed in order to highlight the difficulties of electronic inclusion in this period of the pandemic. The main aim was to triangulate the research so we can find out more aspects of teachers' perceptions and beliefs on the inclusion of children in the primary and the secondary education. For being sincere, this work, the qualitative work on this focus group is already presented at the Greek Panhellenic Congress at the Regional Education of Ministry of Greece here in Greece on the 4th Panhellenic Education Congress, and it's going to be published as a chapter in the book and the annals of this Congress. Thank you very much for your attention and for your time. Thank you very much.